Hey guys, this is Mel, and I am back to talk about Supernatural, episode 1511, titled The Gamblers, which premiered Thursday, January 30th, 2020 on the CW. I am recording on February 1st, so huge spoiler alert. If you haven't seen the episode already, please go do so first, and then come back and see what I have to say about the episode. Yeah, pretty much. I'm going to try to do this in 15 minutes. So let's start the clock and let's begin with what happened in this episode. All right, so timeline-wise, it pretty much continues from the events of 1510 in the sense that Sam and Dean are, when we first see them, they are on their way to Alaska after returning to what we assume is after returning to the bunker after visiting Garth, packing up their things, leaving their note for Castiel, and then taking off once again. So they're going from Kansas and then driving all the way up to Alaska. So it's whatever amount of time that is, though. But yeah, pretty much. Episode reminder. I'm pretty much sure the title itself is going to give it away. The fact that it's The Gamblers is something that, like, hustling at its finest, I guess you could say. But I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But episode breakdowns or storylines, pretty much two different ones I picked up on, specifically the first one being the Alaska Gamble, and the second one being a question of, is Jack back? So as you know, the Winchesters deal with storyline 1, and Castiel's with storyline 2. So the first storyline, where we're up in Alaska to get this magical pool hall, is when we're introduced to Fortuna, the Roman goddess of luck, and then her demigod son Pax, who are running this pool hall and trying to, instead of money that people bet on and barter with, it's their own luck. So they can go on a good winning streak, but once they start losing it, it starts going down south until it's completely depleted. This scenario is very similar to episode 507, when we had Patrick the Witch in his enchanted poker trips, where people were betting on more lives added to them, whether if it's an older man betting their lives and then getting their youth back, or it's older men betting their lives and rapidly aging. As you remember, Bobby gained some years because he lost. Dean gained 25 years because he lost. And then Sam ended up winning it all back for them at the very end in 507. So it's very reminiscent of that, because we do see Dean playing at first the whole the luck of the pool game type of bit for a few before they realize that someone is skimming off the luck, and they realize it's actually Fortuna who's doing it. And then she doesn't want to play a game against Dean again. Instead, she wants Sam. So it's kind of a little similar in that aspect, except this time the brothers can kind of teamed up and beat her, only for her to double or nothing type of thing, and then they end up losing. But anyways, it's very reminiscent of that. I will talk about that a little more later. Also, in this Alaska Gamble storyline, we do learn about the origin story of the mythical gods, or the pagan gods, that is the Romans, the Greeks, and all the other deities that we've seen in, like, Hammer of the Gods episode. I think that was 519. So we found out that essentially God, so Chuck, he created them because when humans were first created, they did not pray to God. They prayed to the sun, to the sky, to the natural elements type of thing. And because of that, Chuck kind of created gods representing those things. Also as a way that if something were to go wrong, the humans were more likely to blame those gods first before blaming the big guy himself. So it's kind of like that, but also it forced them to, like, scrounge up some, like, eating in, like, the sewer type of a situation, like scrounging for scraps, while he lived it high in the sky type of thing. But it was very interesting to get the origin story of the pagan gods themselves. I mean, we got a little bit kind of when we met Loki, but to know how they all started was pretty cool. And then moving on to the second storyline is the fact with Jack back, is Castiel follows a lead about Jack, someone possibly posing as Jack, starting killing these things, only to find out that it actually is Jack, and he's hunting down the Grigori, which were these first angelic protectors of humanity that had turned bad. And they were the last time we've seen them, and also it was the first time we've seen them, or I should say the first and only time we've seen them, is in episode 1020. To be honest, I completely forgot about the Grigori, even though they provided not only a recap portion of it in the then and now section, but also when Castiel himself clued in that it was the Grigori that they were fighting. I still did not remember who they were. It's not only been 5 years, but I did not get up to that episode in my rewatch before my school started in October, which I probably should continue during my next in-between break between terms. But anyways, so there's that. If you wanted to go a little bit more about the Grigori, they're in episode 1020. But in the end of it, Castiel not only saves Jack, but finds out that it's actually him and it's not a shapeshifter or some ghoul trying to pretend to be him. So there's that. And then at least the last scene of the episode, which has Sam and Dean also reuniting with Jack, and they're finding out that Jack came back and he couldn't come home immediately because Billy had plans for him to get stronger so that he was strong enough to kill God. Plus, he didn't want to, he was told not to go back home to Sam and Dean because Chuck had close eyes on them and they didn't want Chuck to know that Jack was back. So that's a little something there, and they ended it on that. Now, tidbit-wise, though, we did find out that the brothers' luck was restored, but even though Dean had a very short time of being lactose intolerant, he already knew about what lactate was and how it's supposed to help you with lactose intolerance. It's a hit and miss with it, really, I'm going to say, as someone who has to deal with it myself. But it was interesting to see that unless the amount of time that Dean has had to deal with it, he immediately tried to find a solution so he can eat so he can go back to his regular eating habits, which he couldn't until he finally got his luck back. So there's that. Also, we do get a little bit of a moment of Sam still texting Eileen. Dean is annoyed when he doesn't take the ding off of the notification, but we do get a little bit more of info of the fact that Eileen is adjusting and doing good, but she also thinks that this whole Alaska trip thing is potential trap because there's no lore about it. Only Garth has heard about it, and also the town outside of the area was able to have the legend around it. But there's that. So end tally or death tally, we'll say the Grigori posing as a doctor was killed by Jack. We had the Grigori preying on kids as he posed as a priest, was killed by Castiel. And then we got Joey Six, which was the cowboy player in the pool hall who had cancer caught up to him when his luck truly ran out. And then there was Leonard at the very beginning whose luck ran out and they ended up getting hit by a car. But then also, why would you flip a coin and then walk backwards into the street? Like, really common sense, dude. Also, if you're going to flip a coin in the air, usually you stay in place so you can catch the coin. Why would you flip a coin and then move back out of the way of catching it? It's like, dude, it's like, no wonder you died. You backed up into traffic. It's like how much more dumb can you be? Anyways, moving on to the most shocking moment of the episode. I think the fact was that Jack had to eat the Grigori hearts. I don't know if it was, well, before we found out they were the Grigori and they were actually like the angels and stuff. It was still disgusting that he had to eat the heart, and it just like, is it because he had to kill the Grigori, which is also an angel? Is that what also helped power him up or something? I don't know. It was like Castiel when he first saw it in the surveillance footage. It was quite a shock to see. So there is that. But let's move on to familiar faces. Jack, obviously, he's been back after being absent for so long. I mean, Alex played Belphegor in the first 3 episodes this season. And then we got Jack being back in, episode 9, 1509. And then we finally have him back in this episode. So it's been a long wait before we got to see his return. So there's that. Also a familiar face, not in the general sense of characters, but Moira, a.k.a. Fortuna in this episode, who's played by Linda Boyd. She was actually Dr. Jennifer O'Brien, the Fear Djinn, in episode 820. The one where Charlie got whammied by and then got stuck into her own nightmare type of thing. I kept wondering the whole time through the episode why she looked familiar. And then when I went back and checked that it was because she was on the show before, it's like, oh, it clicked in that moment for me as well too. So that's another side of the familiar faces thing. But let's move on to top 3 favorite moments. I did love the idea that Sam and Dean were able to prove themselves to be heroes without meaning to Fortuna, which is actually what changed her mind and allowed for not only for her to uphold Sam's original deal with her, and that is to let all the other patrons in the bar go and set free with their luck restored, but also to have her give them their own luck back and a little bit more hero's luck, so that they can have a chance to take down Chuck. And then also her advice saying like, don't be stuck playing his game, let him play yours type of thing. It was just like, it was great to see that is what motivated her to like rethink her original stance on the situation, because also Sam and Dean were just being themselves too. I guess that's one thing that Chuck can't really change. He can change their circumstances they're stuck in, but he can't change the essence of who they are, and that is heroes. So I do appreciate that stance as well. Another favorite I did have was just Jack being back in general, when he not only reunited with Cass, which was very sweet, but when he reunited with the Winchesters as well. I mean, I would have preferred if Dean also hugged Jack instead of just staring intently at him, trying to see if he could see a difference in him or something. But I'm glad that he's back with his family for sure, after a long-awaited time. Another favorite I did have was the origin story that we got with the pagan gods. I mean, the pagans were first introduced to us in episode 111, and to finally actually get an origin story of how they were all created, and it was from God himself, was very interesting to see. So I did prefer finally getting that story. And then another favorite, a bonus I guess you could say, was that I like the fact that the Winchesters were still able to play pool and play it well, and it wasn't something that Chuck was able to take away with his luck, unless it was something that Fortuna did, where like everybody who entered the bar and like pick up a coin, like they're at like a neutral playing ground. So if you already had the skills to play pool, then you still had those, whether or not you were cursed or not. So I don't know if that was the case, but I did like the sense that both Sam and Dean could still play pool, and it wasn't like affected like their fighting skills or like their eating habits or like their health and stuff was affected with Chuck in the previous episode. So I do like that at least they had that aspect of them. And speaking of which, moving on to top 3 peeve moments. The only peeve I didn't have was that I didn't like that once again, maybe it's because this episode is very similar to 507, but I did not like the fact that something that Dean was great at just wasn't enough to do the job, and it had to fall on Sam to do it for him. To me, the thing I didn't like was the fact that Dean did bring it up. He brought up the fact in this episode that like he could wipe the floor with Sam and Pool. It's like there's no one better for me to do it, and then him also acknowledging the fact that Sam is a lot better at things, a lot better at things than Dean is, and he's okay about that. He's proud of that for Sam, which I thought was a sweet moment. But then to have him give this speech saying that like this is like pool is my thing, let me do it, I can do it, and then have Dean winning and everything, but then have him not be part of the ultimate the ultimate pool game against the big bad and have it be Sam's thing. It just seemed like, no, it's like you're taking that away from Dean. You're taking that, it's like you're taking that, I don't know, I just felt, yes, Sam was able to do it, and yes, he got some of Dean's help when when Dean was able to distract Fortuna while Sam was playing against her. It's like, yeah, that was great, but it just annoyed me that after Dean gave this speech about how like Sam's able to do a bunch of things and better than Dean, and Dean was okay with that, he acknowledged that, he was proud of that, but he knew that pool was his thing, and then to not have him be the winner of it all at the end of it, that just seems a little unfair, because also it was the exact same thing in 507. Dean is better at poker than Sam. Dean went all in and he ended up losing, and then it was Sam who ended up winning against the witch and restoring their power, restoring their youth. So it's just like it felt unfair. It's like, yes, it was great to see Sam win as the underdog, because you wouldn't expect him to win, because out of the two of them, if Dean couldn't win, then we're expected to believe that Sam's not going to win because Dean is better at the game than Sam. So that's why it would be more of a surprise if Sam were to win. But to see it happening again and to see Sam take away that moment for Dean, it didn't sit right with me. I didn't like it. So I mean, it was a surprise where like Sam did win and then he ended up losing. So at least that's something. But like, no, because then it also reminded me of Sam's speech in 8:14 to Dean, where he told him that he's not a grunt, he's a genius, and he's listing all the things that Dean was able to do, because Dean always writes himself off of his capabilities. So it's just like, for once, I wanted something that Dean was able to do and do well, and like there was no question about it, and I actually see him able to pull through on that. Like he said in his own speech. And I'm sorry if I'm rambling about that, but that was just one thing I did not like about the episode, was the fact that Dean's very good at pool, and it wasn't up to snuff, and it ended up being Sam that had to do it. It's just like, it didn't sit right with me. So, yeah. So there's that. But moving on to random questions, I only had the one, and that was, has Jack been back since we last saw him and Billy at the end of 1509? Or is it only just like a recent return that he's had? Because the way he was talking, it made it seem like he's been back for a while and he just wasn't able to contact them, and he's been trying to hunt down these Gregories to eat their hearts and slowly restore his powers, since he also can't use his powers. Otherwise, Chuck would find out. So I'm just wondering, just how long has Jack been back? Has it been since 1509, or has it been since the beginning of 1511, which is this episode? So there's something about that. But there's the timer right now. We'll just move on to predictions very quickly, because there's really nothing to predict, because as the promo shows for 1512, we're not going to get it until Monday, March 16th at 8 p.m. So we got over a month before the episode comes back. And the promo showed Jack getting a visit by some old lady. We get Sam and Dean going back into hunting, and then that's pretty much it. And because we're over 2 weeks away from the episode premiering, the synopsis for the episode is not released yet. So we're still left in the dark for that. So yeah. So once 1512 returns, it's going to remain on Monday nights until the series finale. I don't know if it means that from March 16 onward, we're not going to have any like week breaks or anything like that. I would have to double check counting wise how many months that is between then and May 18th, which is when the finale is supposed to air. So we'll wait and see about that. If that's the case, if we go from the March 16th to May 18th without any like breaks from Supernatural, I think I'll be okay with not having it for a month. I mean, it's also something to look forward to, because March 16th ends up being the last week of classes for me in this term. So at least it's something to look forward to after the end of it all. So that is something there. But also, guys, just something I don't know if anyone else has noticed or if anyone is going to take part of, but because the show is ending after 15 seasons, and with this move to the Monday time slot for the remaining 8 episodes, that would mean that Supernatural has aired every day throughout its without its duration of airtime. I mean, we had, of course, the second half of the season would be airing on Mondays, and then Tuesday we had the first half of season 1. We have all of season 9, and then the first half of season 10 airing on Tuesdays. And then for Wednesdays, we had all of season 8 and 11 airing on Wednesdays, as well as the second half of season 10. And then Thursdays was just this regular day, as always, seasons 2, 3, 4, 5, 12, 13, 14, and the first part of 15. And then season 6 and 7 was when it aired on Friday. So I thought that was pretty cool that now by the time the series comes to its end, sadly, that it would have aired on all 5 days. And I thought that's pretty cool. I don't think any other show would be able to say that at all. So that's something I just wanted to share with you guys. But otherwise, guys, that is pretty much it. What did you guys think of the episode? What did you guys like about it? What do you think will happen next? What do you think about the fact that we're going to have to wait just over a month before the new episode airs? Let me know in the comments down below about your thoughts, theories, opinions about all that. Also, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and check out my other videos if you haven't done so already. If you want, check out my Tumblr page. Link for that is down below. I reblog promos, web clips, quotes, GIFs, synopses, news, all that good stuff, all found in one place. Go check that out. Also, WordPress account, link for that is down below. Anything I post online is connected to WordPress. A little more organized, a little more detailed, but still a work in progress once again. Also, I still have to update. My project week is coming up soon, so hopefully I'll have some time to be able to at least update things for the current season. So just be on the lookout for that. Also, live journal entry link is down below as well. I do jot noted summary versions of the episode as I watched it for the first time. So you get quotes in there. It's a little more detailed until like transcripts become available online, but it helps me remember certain things, especially if it's not like very major things. But if it helps you, go check that out. I do have the update. I've done them for every episode, except that you guys won't be able to see all of them at the moment. I still have to rewrite them in the sense that like not using shorthand that I tend to do in the quick of the moment, and then formatting and coloring and stuff. But I hope to work on that soon. It takes a while to go through it all, to be honest. But otherwise, guys, that is pretty much it, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for your patience. I hope you come back within the hiatus of Supernatural to check out my other videos, but if not, then don't mark your calendar for March 16th because my video will be back shortly after that for Supernatural. So until then, guys, this is Mel. Wish you all a great day, great week wherever you are. Bye for now.